Today is June 9th, 2021. This is the monthly meeting of the Council on Aging Board. As a preliminary matter, this is Shashi Menon, Chairman of the Council on Aging Board. Please permit me to confirm that all members and persons anticipated in the agenda are present and can hear me. Members, when I call your name, please respond in the affirmative. Barbara DiPaolo?
Here.
Virginia Leonard has not checked in. Louise Russell?
Here.
Zoya Mehta?
Here.
Norma is not here. Betsy Zwick?
Here.
And for the staff, we have Holly Look, the Director of the COA Department.
Present.
And we have Christine Moriarty, who's the Executive Assistant.
Here.
And that should be it. The first item, no, before I get to that, we have to do the remote meeting thing. Good morning. This open meeting of the meeting of the Council on Aging Board is being conducted remotely, consistent with Governor Baker's executive order of March 12th, 2020, due to the current state of emergency in the Commonwealth due to the outbreak of the COVID-19 virus. The order allows public health bodies to meet entirely remotely so long as reasonable access is provided so that the public can follow along with the deliberations of the meeting. For this meeting, the board is convening by Google Meet as posted on the town's website, identifying how the public may join. This meeting will not feature public comment. Please wait until I open the item for public comment and press number 6 to unmute your device. With that, we can move on to the first item on the agenda, which I believe is the minutes of the last meeting, which is from May of last month, which is May of 2021. Does anyone have any comments to add? Yes?
Shashi, before we get started, can I just suggest that if you're not speaking because we're recording differently today and I don't want to interrupt the community like the way they're watching it, if you're not speaking, put your video on mute.
Yes. I think everyone has done that except me because I'll be speaking for now. I think Louise wants something to say.
I move that we accept the minutes of May 12th.
Does anyone have any comments? Zoya? Unmute.
I second it.
Anyone have any comments? Louise?
Yes, on the first the first page, excuse me, when it said the April minutes were accepted with corrections, it should be with corrections and additions. We should add that to it.
Christine,
That was
Christine, they're waiting.
Can't hear you, Shashi.
okay, I forgot to unmute. Louise?
No, I just wanted to put corrections and additions in the number 2 in the minutes.
We're going to, yes, the corrections and additions are being made. So the motion is to accept the minutes with corrections and additions as required, right? Hello, anybody out there? Louise, is that correct? That you accept that?
Yeah, that's all right now. Yeah.
All right. Barbara? Barbara, do you accept, you voting yes?
Yes.
Betsy?
Yes.
Zoya?
Yes.
The vote, the meetings, the minutes are accepted. Let's see.
Archie,
Yes,
I move to reconsider the vote accepting the minutes as amended in May. We unanimously, which we just corrected there, but I move to reconsider that vote that we took to accept the minutes.
Barbara, do you have, you go along, you accept that?
I don't know what's going on, but I'll agree with whatever you're doing.
Betsy?
I confess to be confused as well, but I, like Barbara, will go with the will of the group.
Zoya?
I'm not sure what we are reconsidering.
All right, Louise, can you see? All right, let me explain what's going on here. The minutes, April meeting minutes were conditionally accepted with us receiving a description of another meeting that we had a while back with Kevin. Unfortunately, Holly hasn't had the time to put in to supply those comments, so that condition has not been met, and that's the extent of it. Louise, you want to add something to that?
That's right. And what we approved in May, we unanimously approved to accept.
Yeah, it was a conditional acceptance.
And it was not fulfilled. So I would change that motion to we postpone accepting the minutes until this is fulfilled.
So the minutes from the April meeting, is this the April meeting or the March meeting?
Yes, the April
meeting will be accepted at whenever we meet again. Will be as soon as we get the explanatory paragraph or whatever it is that Holly is going to give us. Until then, that minutes will remain as pending. All right. Before we go any further, I want to point out that we need to curtail this meeting somewhat, primarily because Holly has to leave early. She has to attend to some family issues that come up in all families, I suppose. So we have to curtail the meeting somewhat and try and finish by 10:30. And whatever is left over should be added to the agenda for the next meeting. I think that's it. I was originally going to reorder it to accept look at the financial report after Holly had left, but I think as director she needs to be here for the financial report review of the financial reports, because that's a document that goes up the chain all the way to the state level. Moving, Louise, I think you need to unmute. Louise, I didn't hear you. Louise, you did not unmute.
I got it. Okay. We never voted on the new motion for the April minutes. And the motion was that we don't accept, no, you move to postpone acceptance until the amendments have been received by the board. Whenever that is.
Shashi, you're muted.
Sorry about that. Yes. Zoya, do you second that?
I do. I second it.
I'm going to take a roll call vote on that. Louise,
Yes,
Barbara,
Yes,
Bob, Betsy,
Yes.
Sawyer,
Yes, I accept the amended clause put in.
what, I missed the last comment.
I said that I accept the amended clause which was put in.
All right. So the motion is carried, and we can move on to the next item, which
Yes.
which I believe is the financial report.
Okay, so if everybody could start again with the FY21 budget summary as of 6/9/2021. I'll go through the account. Sorry, I think Louise, there's some background noise. I'm going to mute you again. So I'll go through the account information, and then if anybody has questions after, we can go over the detail. So as of 6/9, we have $22,751.12 in the formula grant. In the DOT grant, we have $11,918.58. In the shared winter streets grant, we have $35,628.75. In the taxi livery grant, we have $18,918. In the gift fund, we have $33,792.59. In the revolving account, we have $24,422.75. And in the general fund, we have $6,633.82. Okay, does anybody have any questions about the detailed sheet with all of the line items for the accounts?
Louise?
Yes, as usual, there's a typo on the sheet that you just read. The revolving count should say 433 instead of 422.
Oh,
That's
I
just a
apologize
typo.
for that.
That's just a typo, yeah. Under the gift fund, what is that Smiley Ball appearance fee for the Woo Sox?
Yep, so for our kickoff event, we're going to have the Woo Sox mascot come make an appearance. So for that appearance, it is $307.84. He'll be here for the duration of the event. So
That's
from
on the
11 to 2.
25th? On the
June.
25th?
Yep, on June 25th.
What's he gonna do?
He's going to be here for photo ops. Oh, Holly's going to elaborate.
So I'll be talking about the June 25th event a little bit more, but one of the things that I know that we've discussed in the last year and a half that I've been with the town is trying to get people to know that the senior center exists. And in order to do that, we need to incorporate some multi-generational opportunities that would get in, people of different ages. So one of the ways that we wanted to do that was to have like the new upcoming Polar Park mascot, whose name is Smiley Ball, to come and kind of be able to be a photo opportunity for the younger kids to take pictures, which will get more family members to come to the senior center and kind of see that what we're doing in our initiatives. And we are working our tails off to make sure that the senior center looks as though it looks as new as we can make it look before the June 25th event. So that was the expense for Smiley Ball.
Okay, I was surprised to see it there. It was something different. Also under the general fund, all this furniture that we're buying, it comes to, $3,500. What, the patio furniture? What's the patio furniture?
Go ahead, Holly.
So when we first decided to purchase the patio furniture, we were not certain on how long the senior center was going to be closed to the public as far as coming indoors. So we purchased the patio furniture to have outside so people could still come and visit the senior center. So we decided to take that out of the general fund because if we didn't use that money, we would have to return those funds back to the town. So we also looked at it as another opportunity to just have additional furniture outside for people to come and relax, because there are people that are coming back into the center, perhaps when we do decide to take the masks off. And then there'll be people that don't want to come back to the center, inside, but may still utilize the outside. So that's where that furniture expense is coming from.
Is that on the side of the building? Where the
So
other
we're-
round tables were? Are they still there? Are the round tables still there with the
So the
umbrellas?
patio, yes, so the patio furniture at the senior center still is out there. We are still awaiting shipment on the picnic tables because of the high demand for so many places at the time when we put in the order. I believe that it was supposed to be in yesterday, and I think there was a shipment issue. Maybe Christine can touch up on that, but we are going to have it in the front of the center, at least for this summer, because we have the tents until August 31st.
Zoe had a question?
That was the question I had was, do the tents belong to us or are we renting it? And if we are renting it, how much are we paying for it?
So the tents we are renting from Callahan's in Clinton. Christine, do you remember what the tag item was for that, the expense?
So we're not paying for the tents. That's being covered by the CARES Act money by the town. So it's to no cost to the senior center.
Okay.
Holly, I have a general question. Actually, it's to anybody who's, I guess to the board in general. Do we know of a process in place to do some kind of due diligence for large purchases? Is somebody looking over our shoulder saying, yes, this is a good price. Yes, this is a good piece of equipment. Is anybody doing that for us? Go ahead, Holly.
Yeah, so I called a few people to make sure that when we were ready to open up again in the summer, that we had the best prices available. And so you're supposed to get quotes. So what it ended up being is I called a few people and they just didn't even have anything. So this is how we ended up with Callahan Rentals in Clinton, which was also advised for us to call from the town of Shrewsbury. So Public Facilities suggested that I call them to utilize their services.
So essentially, you're saying that there really is nobody that, let's say from the town manager's office or from the town administration that looks at what your purchase is and tells you, yes, this is a good price. Yes, this is, someone who's responsible for the due diligence part.
That's me. And then I relay the information that I find out through Public Facilities.
Okay. So it goes through Public Facilities, whatever purchases you're making.
So this was approved by Public Facilities to be covered under the CARES Act. Yes.
Okay.
This
All right.
particular tent. Yes.
All right.
Yep.
Christine, did you have a comment?
I just wanted to also say that Holly and myself do a lot of research when looking at particular items to purchase for the senior center. We do a lot of comparison and price matching between different vendors that the town utilizes. So between myself and Holly, we personally do a lot of research before we buy anything.
No, don't get me wrong. I'm not trying to undermine or say anything bad about what you did or didn't do. What I'm really concerned about is that somebody higher up questioning your judgment, in which case you can say, yeah, I have done this due diligence and I've done this research. So long as somebody else has looked over your shoulder, you're in the clear. You see what I'm saying? Go ahead, Holly.
So as a department head and working collaboratively, oh my gosh, I can't even say it, collaboratively with other departments, nobody per se looks over my shoulder, but I definitely make sure I coordinate with the other departments that are involved in. So like I needed to get Public Facilities involved because they needed to see where I was putting up the tent and I needed to have the okay. So basically it falls on my shoulders, but I always make sure that I include as many people as possible in the decisions that I'm making, especially when it comes to the structure inside or outside of the senior center.
See, what I'm concerned about is this is an open meeting and members of the public are allowed to question the items that we're talking about. And if you get a question from a member of the public, you have to be prepared to answer it. And so long as you feel confident I'm satisfied. Go ahead. Go ahead.
Sure.
Holly.
Sure. So I believe that if somebody did from the community come to me, I would be able to answer that question. I think if the board has that question, then that's something different. But nobody has questioned the tent purchases or anything like that, because again, this did fall under a COVID relief fund. So normally we wouldn't spend this amount of money in a normal, if you will, world. But this was something a little bit different. So this had already been approved even before I started researching it.
Luis?
Okay, I'm just thinking before Holly has to leave, can we talk about the summer meetings?
Go ahead, Holly.
So before we move on to that, because I don't believe that there's going to be a lot of discussion, I just want to make sure that if anybody else has any questions about the financials, we kind of put that one to rest first and then move on from there.
Yes, I think we should do that. Christine has not finished yet.
If there are no other questions on the detailed report, we can be done with the financial section of the agenda. Sassy, you're on mute. You're still muted.
All right. Christine, are you going to be going through the second page? Does anybody have any questions on the details? No? All right. So I do have a question about the reports in general. Holly, have you had anybody as the report goes up the chain, has anybody ever questioned you about this, or have you had any feedback from or any kind of questions from somebody at the town level or the state level?
Questions about what?
About the finances?
I don't know what you're referring to.
In other words, we each month, Christine publishes a budget sheet and an account summary of the budget.
Mm-hmm.
That supposedly is going up the chain. It's going to be blended in with the town. It's input to the town as to our expenses. Has anybody ever questioned you on that?
No.
There has never been a question about it. All right. Just
No.
curious as to how much interest is, our meetings have with the higher up the chain. Just curious
Well,
about that.
I believe that the annual town meeting with, everything that goes to vote, you can pretty much see where the expenses are going. When I do my annual town report, that gets published to the entire community, and it's open to the public to read. But in the year and a half that I've been here, I've never been questioned on any of my financial expenses or anything like that. No.
All right, good. That's good. We can move on. The next item on your agenda. I think we're moving on to the director's report, the outreach. Go ahead, Holly. Outreach interview update.
Sure. So in the past 2 weeks, I've interviewed roughly three candidates. I've narrowed it down to one who has a second interview on Monday, in which I invited Shashi to be present at the second interview. Depending on how that interview goes, we'll either offer that person the position or open it up and keep the interviews or the resumes coming in. What I want to do is, even though it hurts us a little bit by being short-staffed, I do not want to make any wrong decisions about accepting the wrong person. So I want to make sure that, we fill the position to the best of our needs. And if that means that it takes a little while and I have to do the additional work, until that happens, that's something that I'm willing to take on. But as I mentioned, the second interview is on Monday, and I will definitely keep the board posted as to whether or not we go forward to offer that applicant the position or if we're still going to be looking. So we'll have that decision by Monday afternoon, and I will certainly let the board know via email on how that is going. Any questions on the outreach position at all? So if no questions, I'm just going to keep going. So the summer kickoff event, I'm very excited about it. I think it's going to be a good time. I think it's going to be nice over the fact that, again, not to just keep, repeating myself, but in a year and a half, I haven't really been able to do anything, that invites the public into our center in our area. So to date, I believe we have roughly 26 vendors, which includes departments, organizations that we work with on a daily basis. So I'll just give you a quick rundown. So we have a couple of crafters just to break up the monotony of having so many businesses there. But we have ESWA, Elder Services of Worcester. They're going to be joining us. And what we've decided to do is offer 50 free cold lunches to people who may want to just try out Meals on Wheels. So they're going to be there with Meals on Wheels applications. They're going to be there with Beth, our nutrition manager, because I felt it very necessary to have a familiar face. So, if they're the ones that are going to be working with her to sign up for Meals on Wheels, I wanted to make sure that she was there to help represent Elder Services as well as represent Council on Aging. So we'll have some of those meals offered if people are interested in them. We have Summit Elder Care. We have Fallon. On the upper parking lot, the way we're going to work it is the side parking lot, we're going to corner off, and the town emergency vehicles are going to be stationed up there. So anybody interested in taking pictures on there. So if they're kids, we'll also have our COA van there with one of our drivers kind of explaining, how the transportation system works, let them see what the van looks like. That is in the same area that will have the free ice cream truck up there. So if anybody wants to have an ice cream, they can go up there. I just thought it best with all those emergency vehicles, to be in one spot. The town employees are going to be asked to be parked in the other side of the parking lot so we can have people come and park in those parking spots that are on the side. The Friends of group are coming, and their theme is flamingos. So they're saying it's nice to have the flock back. So they've made up signs, and they'll have flamingos out there. They're also going to have things about their ballots, as well as some, raffles and things. We'll have a blood pressure. One of the nurses are coming to do blood pressures. And I'm crossing my fingers, and I would like to ask everybody to do the same thing, because I'm hoping if the day is nice, we can have both inside and outside vendors sit. So the men's club is going to be there to try to recruit new members and to kind of talk about what they're doing. There's so many fun things happening. We also have entertainment where there's going to be a acoustic baseball entertainment going on to kind of go with our Smiley Ball theme from the Woo Sox. So we're really hoping that that this is going to be a really fun event. And the reason why I wanted to add open house to it, because I wanted to show that the Council on Aging is kind of looking out for all of the businesses and organizations that we work with, because everybody has been going through the same thing that we have for the past 16 months. And I just felt that this was also another good opportunity for the businesses that we work with to collaborate together and to give them an opportunity to be able to grow and make those relationships too. So I'm super excited. And again, that is on Friday, June 25th from 11 to 2.
Betsy had a question.
I do, Holly. It sounds like an absolutely terrific day. I think this is a great idea, and it sounds like you've worked your tail off to put all of these things in place. Quick question: is there any thought to transportation for people who may be at the senior housing facilities to get them over to the senior center, those who don't have their own transportation?
Sure. So our transportation that day is going to run as normal. So what I would expect is that anybody who wants to come to the event that needs transportation, they will call us that day, and we'll get them there just as we normally would on any other day. So we still need people to call us 48 hours in advance to make those appointments to come to the center. But yes, our transportation is not stopping just for this event.
Christine, did you have a question?
Christine?
No, sorry, someone came up to talk to me. I was shooing them.
Louise, you had a question?
Yeah, excuse me, Holly, did you ever find the brochures, the COA and the Friends brochures?
So
We had hundreds of them. They were just a couple years old. We made some new ones a couple years ago that were really nice, and I thought it might be nice to hand those out that day.
So the only brochure that I have of the COA at this moment is a little outdated. I don't have anything on the Friends of, I don't have any Friends of brochures. I believe that, I think Jerry shared one with me, but I don't have any additional ones on those. And unfortunately, all through this time we've been trying to find volunteers to help us, redo our brochure, and it just hasn't happened yet. We've had to have other things kind of happen before that. So unfortunately, I don't have any brochures that we'll be able to give out that day. But we are planning to have our RTA, like our transportation brochures handed out. We are planning to hand out like our business cards and things of that nature to kind of in lieu of, as well as having our newsletters out there for people to grab.
Because I thought we had about 1,000 of them left, the boxes of them that were ordered. And
Not that I've found. No, not I. If you have another place where I might be able to find some, but I've cleaned out our storage cabinet and I've never found additional ones. And I didn't want to pay more money because they really needed to be improved a little bit.
No, I mean, we spent a long time putting it together, and we thought it was pretty good. It was a trifold.
Yep.
Yeah.
So we have a couple of them on our counter, but again, some of the information is a little bit outdated.
I'm sure. Yes. Okay. Thank you.
Yep.
I have a question.
Sure.
This has to do more with logistics than anything else. I'm sure you've done your due diligence in your background work. I'm just want to be clear that we have enough people on hand, medical emergencies, directions within the senior center, what's what. Do we have volunteers? I'm not sure the staff alone can handle it. People standing by to answer questions, people who can direct somebody somewhere. Is that all taken care of? You've appointed somebody to do all that?
Sure. So I will be there. Christine will be there. Donna will be there. Pat will be coming in that particular day. Cynthia is on vacation that week. We will have the van drivers there, and we are working on having enough volunteers to come in and kind of walk people, around, introduce, give the tours. We will have receptionists on. The medical, as far as like the other departments, as I mentioned, they're all going to be there that day. So the police and fire are going to be over there with their emergency vehicles, and we'll have plenty of assistance. You're on mute, Shashi.
Yeah, I'm just concerned because it's going to be in the summertime. I expect somebody to be passing out in the heat or something like that and having a medical emergency of some kind. I just want to make sure that we're prepared for that.
So our refrigerator will be in next week. We are planning on passing out waters, as well as the Friends of group are going to be passing out waters. And again, we will be able to utilize the inside of the senior center because we are officially opened, even though I was trying to wait until July 1st. But if the weather is nice, we're going to be able to utilize both inside and outside. And not to mention that all of the staff has recently taken a first aid and CPR course.
Excellent. Christine, were you about to say something?
I was just going to point out the CPR class that Holly mentioned. Myself, the office staff, and all of the drivers took a course after hours to go over first aid and CPR in emergency situations.
Good. Now, I think somebody just joined. I think it's...
Oh, it's Ginny. It's Virginia Leonard. I'm
All right,
sorry. I
good.
was having problems with my phone, and so I had to charge it up before I could call in.
Okay. Holly, please continue.
Sure. So, so that pretty much wraps up the summer kickoff event. As far as activity programs, indoor and outdoor, as of July 1st, we're opening up just as we were prior to the pandemic, except for the fact right now we're still anticipating that we'll have the masks on. On June 15th, Kevin Mizikar is going to revisit that and make the decision on whether or not town buildings need to require masks or not. So until the 15th, I don't have an answer on that. But one of the things that we're doing is, so everything's trial and error. So, you know, everything that we put into place thinking that we weren't going to open, we are now backpedaling because now we're opening. So Christine and I, as well as the rest of the staff, have been super busy trying to get those activities that we were planning outside, now inside, but also offering outside possibilities. So we are just all over the place. So we're working this week primarily on making sure that all of the instructors that want to come into the facility have an indoor spot because of the summer heat and everything like that. If somebody chooses to go outside, that's a decision that, you know, is for the group. One of the things that we have decided, because there are so many people that want to come back to the center, which is like makes me so happy. So before, there were some programs that were lasting 3-4 hours, some even dwindling into 4.5 hours. And unfortunately, when I'm going to book the center, I need to know who's there, when they're coming, when they're leaving, so I can book. So we are, for the time being, limiting all programs except events to 2 hours. So if a program would like to go over 2 hours, all they need to do is come up to the receptionist window and ask to see if there's anything behind them being held in that room. If there's nothing behind them, they can absolutely stay longer. If there's something behind them, know their 2 hours, you know, is up. I just feel as though I recall that when we were open, that many kind of some of the groups that were getting together were lasting much longer and people were waiting. So this way, it's 2 hours. Again, if they want more time, they can come up and see if that space behind them is available. If so, of course they can have that space. I would never say no. So those are the couple of things that we're working on as far as changing. Some of the feedback that I do want to let the board know is that many seniors have come to us and they were concerned with the fact that, you know, they could no longer make donations towards the instructors and that we were giving them $5 a person and then the instructors couldn't ask for money. So evidently this was affecting the way that their insurance was coming back, so they couldn't be compensated for that time. So what would happen is if, let's say, Barbara, you came into an exercise class and you wanted to give $5, you would then go back to your insurance company with something from the instructor that said that you gave money and then they get compensated back. So when we decided that we were going to pay the instructors, the clients, if you will, the attendants don't get that money back. And so many of them asked if they could just keep donating the money. So instead of an instructor being paid and taking donations, we have just decided to take away being paid. And we're leaving that up to the instructors to, ask for the donations, market their event, which helps us because that gives me extra assistance in, marketing activities and things like that. So I know that's a little confusing, but that's the way we've tried to go because, again, I want to make sure that I'm listening to all the seniors that are utilizing our programs to make sure that they're happy. Are there any questions with that? Okay, so I think that you'll notice in the June newsletter, we have a lot of programs that are ready to go. Each day we get more phone calls, so I expect that July and August will be full also. Very excited that, that we're getting back to normal. So as for D, for senior center reopening, oh, Louise has her hand.
Louise, you were going to say something?
Yeah, I just wondered, I was out there yesterday, and they have the tables in the lobby there. They're just perfect for card games. Can we play cards yet?
So, you know what? I wish I had touched on this before you even said something, Louise. So starting July 1st, yes, you guys can come back into the lobby.
July 1st.
July 1st. So we're going to keep June as we are because it's just too hard to pedal backwards, like I said. So July 1st, you'll see in the front cover of the newsletter that we're back to normal. At this time, like I said, in the July newsletter, it still will say you have to wear masks. By the time the newsletter goes to print, that could change. So people will find out when they come in or they can call. But yes,
Oh, good.
please call us and let us know when you want to come into the lobby because all of the areas of the senior center are going to be full with activities. So I want to make sure, so if you want to do, your card game or Scrabble game, call us so I can make sure that we designate the lobby. So if somebody just starts to sit down there and read a book, I can politely say to them, we have an activity going on and I can show them, what's on our program. So call us if you want to book time. So you can call now because we can book you for July.
Okay. Good, thank you. Thank you.
Okay. Yep, you're welcome. I'm sorry, I've got like a little twitchy nerve going on. So the senior center reopening again starts July 1st as normal. We'll still have our signs up that says, social distance. If you're not vaccinated, you should wear a mask. We are not allowed to ask you. So, don't worry about that. We still have our hand sanitizing stations available. So, this is where it's super important for everybody to be your best advocate. So if you're uncomfortable coming to the senior center, you should know that there are going to be people there without masks. So I see Zoya with her hand up.
Zoya has a question.
Holly, when do you think you'll be planning to open up the congregate meals for the Meals on Wheels?
Sure. So as I mentioned in the last meeting, our grab and go has gone really, really well. We have a lot of people. So my thought is to wait for the summer months to be over, and I'm looking towards September to offer the congregate meals to start, which means that, so some of the things that Christine and I are working on is to make sure that we have that side A space available. And I did just hear from Beth, our nutrition manager yesterday, that ESWA wants to put they want to change a little bit of the timing of their food delivery and food changes by it's either a half an hour or an hour. So I actually have a meeting this afternoon with ESWA because one of my concerns is that this will affect all Meals on Wheels drivers, and I certainly don't want to lose Meals on Wheels drivers, and I want to be able to know how I can schedule my programs. So I don't want to start worrying about something that isn't implemented yet. So I want to wait until I have that meeting this afternoon with ESWA to kind of find out a little bit more information. But I would like to bring back the congregate dining for September, if that's possible. But I want to make sure it's done correctly. And I also want to have some time to speak with some outside restaurants to see if at any time they'd be willing to do some sort of like a buffet or a catering type of luncheon for us to kind of mix it up, whether it doesn't have to be weekly, but with that opportunity, I'd be able to market their restaurant if they came in and did this for us. You know, it could be on television, it could be in our newsletter. So I'm hoping I'll find some restaurant out there that'd be willing to do a lunch with RSVP.
Zoya?
Holly, when you're talking about the restaurant, there have been quite a few members who have wanted vegetarian meals. So if you could think of that also, once in a way, vegetarian meal, complete vegetarian meal.
Sure. I can definitely do that. I honestly feel as I'm not a vegetarian, but I do feel like those should be options at each meal that we offer, especially just so we can accommodate everybody. I don't want to leave anybody out. So I'll definitely, so thank you for bringing that up. I will definitely make sure that I have that included. So that's pretty much the senior center reopening. I know Louise saw yesterday, so we do have the receptionist back with us on our side of the office space. And they were super excited. So because they felt a little bit like they were outcasts. So now we have them back with us. Christine has done a lot of work as far as putting up like policies and things like that in her supervisor training for the volunteers that I'd be happy to share at our next meeting. So because we want to introduce them first to Kevin and Kristen as part of her leadership training, but super excited. And of course, you all know me, everybody will have their name tags on when you come into the senior center, so we'll all be identifiable. But just to move on now, so for the July and August agenda meeting, so our next meeting would actually be on July 14th. And as everybody knows, or maybe people don't know, so this is Barbara's last meeting. This is Zoya's last meeting. Norma is not able to come back. So we're going to be down a few members, and it is also, vacation time. And there is a possibility that I could be on vacation that day. So I wanted to ask the board how they felt about suspending the July agenda meeting and perhaps August, just to make sure that we have enough board members to come in and be able to make the decisions that we need. But Kristen Loss had explained to me that it's really the board's decision on that. So I'll leave it to the board to discuss, and you guys can let me know what you think.
Holly, I'm inclined to agree with you, primarily because we're down to 4 people, including Virginia. And if Virginia cannot stay for the duration, 9:30 to 11, the minute she's called off to do something while she's at work, we're without a quorum. So if we're down to 3 people, we have to immediately adjourn. The meeting may be half an hour long, a lot of so the other side of the question is, even if Kevin were to appoint somebody, would it really be fair to ask them to, all of a sudden take on the role of recording secretary or vice chairman? That would not be really fair to do that. So yes, I'm inclined to say, let's table it. But at the same time, we have to figure out a way of keeping in touch on a regular basis if we need to, and to talk. Go ahead.
So I agree with you. And one of the things that I would like to do with new board members coming through, instead of throwing them right into the pit, if you will, is to have that opportunity to meet with them one-to-one to kind of give them a lowdown of how the board works, how I interact with the board. But I would say in lieu of at least the July meeting to see if we could get the new board members, that I would continue to send, what I can do is do weekly updates via email. And that way, if people have questions, you can contact me directly. And we can sort those out. And if we feel as though we need to have some sort of meeting, we can certainly do that. But I would feel, at least for July, if we can get another board member or 2 in July, and I can get them acquainted to the position, to acclimated, and then invite them to talk with you, Shashi, and then maybe come back in August. But I would suggest, I like the idea of just kind of postponing it for a while, but I'll put it on my agenda for each Friday to send out an update to the board of everything that's going on, including financials as I can, because remember, my office assistant will be out. So we'll get the financials as easy, as much as possible, but that's also me being dependent upon the other departments in town.
So let me just go around and poll everyone one by one, and so for them to share your thoughts with us. Luis, you're on.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear you. I could go along with not having a July meeting, but I think we really would need an August meeting to get ready for the fall. I think there's too many things going on that we really need to, and we can assess what happened, after July 1st, after things got opened and everything in August, and give a chance. I would like to, as well as the new people meeting with Holly, I think the new people should meet with the board members as well. And so how we can formulate that, I think by that time we should all be able to meet at the senior center without any problem. And not as we probably would have to make up an agenda. We can call it a workshop or something or other, but just as a meet and greet kind of thing. And answer any questions they have. They might feel more comfortable asking us than they had asking you, Holly. I don't know, but I would go along with the not having it in July, but then starting up again in August.
Barbara? Barbara, do you have anything you want to add?
Betsy wants to ask a question.
No. I'm going down my list here. You're next.
Betsy had her hand up even before Louise.
All right,
just
Betsy,
spoke.
you get to go first.
It's not about going first. I just wanted to make a motion that we suspend the July meeting.
No, we're not there yet, Holly. I want to get everyone to weigh in and express their opinions. Then I'll remember that you will make the motion. Zoya, do you have anything to add?
No, I don't. I think it is the right way to go. If your quorum is not adequate, then it is better that you postpone it and have the weekly agenda from Holly coming in for information.
Now, Barbara, do you have anything to add?
I agree with Zoya.
Okay. Betsy, go ahead. Make your motion.
I make a motion that we suspend the July meeting, and we look forward to Holly's weekly minutes.
I need a second.
I second.
I'll now do a roll call vote. Luis?
Yes.
Barbara?
Yes.
Betsy?
Yes.
Zoya?
Agree.
The proposition is passed. The motion is passed. I'm having trouble with all these words here.
So, do you realize that?
Virginia vote? Is Virginia still here?
Yes, I've been on the call, so I don't know. I mean, I don't have a way right now to join by face. So I've been on the call, so I don't know. It's I hope I'm not invisible. I would hope that my name shows up so that I mean, as long as my name's on there, I'm still on the call. It would go away if I wasn't on the call any longer.
Yes, I just noticed that you were still on there. I'm sorry, I left you out. I didn't poll you on your opinion. But
and again, I agree with everybody. I think that there's a lot of people there's some people leaving and some people going to come on, and certainly you want to make sure that everybody's available to greet all the new members.
Okay. Holly?
I do just want to mention that going forward, that on the minutes, anybody who joins, their time of the time they join the meeting and the time that they leave the meeting will now be recorded on the minutes. So I just want to make sure that everybody is aware of that.
Right.
Holly, do you want to move along to the
Sure.
next?
Yep. So, okay.
You have about 5 more minutes before you have to go, right?
Yep. So, the COA staff goals. So for FY22, in order for the staff to receive any kind of performance steps or increases, we've all been asked to include some goals. So I'm going to just table the staff goals for now until we meet again in August, since it's the new fiscal year. But I can let everybody know that one of mine is to develop the marketing plan for the strategic plan. So yay for that. So that is one of my goals. But again, we'll talk about that in a little bit more in depth in August, because there are so many of us, and hopefully we'll have an outreach coordinator at that time, so we can be able to include either him or her on that too. So that's it for the staff goals. As far as the grants, so the nutrition program, Christine and I will be finishing that up and sending the invoices over to MCUA to get reimbursed for the money spent, because we had to spend the money, show that we bought those things, and then we get the money back. So we'll be working on that to have that done by Friday. The taxi delivery grant. So Cynthia and I are going to be contacting the grant, the MPCRA, now I forget off the top of my head, just to see if there are other ways that we can spend that grant money back down, so we're not giving any money back. So we're working on that. Again, we have that grant money until December 31st. So, and right now we still have, we asked for 40,000. I believe we still have 30,000 left. So we want to spend that money before we give it back. So we're going to be contacting them to see what, in addition, we can do besides just brokering out calls to Yellow Cab and Safeway. The Shared Winter Streets grant. So you might have seen in the June newsletter that we're really pushing the salt buckets now instead of waiting to the winter. And so our van drivers, as well as Pat Babin, they're in the van today. They'll be delivering some salt as well as some of the microwaves. And so we're really pushing those things. People are super, super happy about the opportunity to have these things. And they're happy about having them before they actually need them, because who knows when we're going to get our first winter storm. And people also, we had our phones ringing off the hook for those yellow jackets, the vest jackets, the walking jackets that Elizabeth did before she left. So we actually ordered some more because we had some funds available. And we've coordinated with the police department. So what they do is they have some in their patrol cars, and when they see somebody walking, they stop and they ask them if they want a vest. So I think that's really good for our town to see, that happening. And let's see, AARP, the Yahoo grant, the Young Adults Helping Others Out. I did contact them yesterday. We should be hearing either by the end of this week or early next on whether or not we received that. So I'm super excited about that. Any questions on the grants? So with seeing or hearing none, I'm just going to move on really quick to our transportation, our ridership. So Cynthia did get me some reports down. And from the Shrewsbury Housing Authority, by using the WRTA vans, in April, we had 126 requests. And in May, we had 64. So those are going up. We've utilized our COA vans a little bit, but our numbers are still low, whereas in April, we used the COA for 8, and in May, we used them for 50. So one of the other things that I want to let people know is WRTA has decided to suspend fares until January 1st, 2022. So Cynthia and I, one of her goals is to try to figure out ways to increase the money that we get for our COA vans. And the way we're thinking about doing that is offering travel programs where we would actually put people on the buses and charge a certain fee to go, whether it's say to Botanical Gardens or out to lunch somewhere special. So there'd be a small fee associated with our vans until we can try to figure out other things. So of course, as always, if anybody has any ideas or, please email me them. I'd be happy to talk with you. So I will just touch quick on the transportation. So one of Cynthia's goals is to increase the marketing of the vans by offering, biannual videos of how the transportation services work. She's creating new brochures for that. So I am hopeful. Oh, and we are accepting full ridership right now on our vans. So there's no limits at all. So we can be at full capacity. So hopefully with that, we'll start getting more and more phone calls. That about wraps it up for the director's update, unless anybody has any quick questions.
Louise?
Holly, I had a question about the strategic plan from last month. I finally had time to go through it. Last month you said that the feasibility study had been tabled, and yet in the feasibility in our chart thing here, you had crossed off that whole section and said that it's no longer applicable. Table to me means it's a temporary thing. This sounds like it's a permanent thing, that there's not even going to be any talk again about the feasibility study for the senior center.
Holly?
So for the feasibility study, or the strategic plan goes until 2023. So right now, for the remainder of this strategic plan, there will not be any more discussion on the feasibility study. However, Christine and I did meet last week for a good hour, and we did put that back into the feasibility study. So into the strategic plan. So one of my goals is to each year create 4 new goals for our strategic plan. So instead of doing a strategic plan that lasts 5 years, it's going to be annually. So that way, I think that gives us a better way to actually achieve a goal than be able to say, well, we might do it in 2004, or we might do it in 2005. So as of right now, the feasibility study doesn't exist because they're working on strictly the police station. So when it comes back that we are going to discuss again the senior center and how it's built and things like that, I will put it back into the strategic plan. What I didn't want it to do was I didn't want to concentrate on something that doesn't exist. What I'd rather do is make other goals that we can actually achieve. But it doesn't mean, so it's just a little revision.
I think Zoya had a question. I think Zoya had a question.
This is different from what Louise is saying. If the RTA is not taking any fares, how does it affect us financially?
So that's something that Kristen Loss and Kevin Mizikar and I, as well as the WRTA, are trying to figure out, because we do own 2 town-owned vehicles. So our 2 WRTA vehicles are not affected by this, but our 2 town-owned vehicles are affected, which is exactly where I was just saying that I need to get creative with my transportation coordinator to figure out ways to have money come in so we can still utilize the COA vans, because we're still going to be using them to offer transportation when the WRTA vans aren't available. So that is a major concern of mine, as well as Kristen and Kevin's, and we're trying to figure out ways to get around that. So that is something that we are in the process of doing, but I don't have an answer for you yet.
Louise, were you going to comment on this or the different question? What you had your hand up before?
No, I had a follow-up on my other question. You mentioned the 5 goals that you were going to create. Does that include the board working with you on that? Or are those just your goals?
So no. So I did give my goals on, so as a a whole of what I'm planning on doing. But in my goals, you'll see that it says the way I'm planning on achieving those is by working with the board, working with outside entities, working with, my staff and volunteers. So that is included. So I apologize. I probably shouldn't even brought it up because I know like that's a good, exciting thing to talk about, but we will discuss this again in August, but that none of those decisions are just mine. So it's going to incorporate everybody to help out. But that is my goal for fiscal year 22.
Thank you.
Anyone else? Any questions? Holly, I had a question about feasibility study. The way I understand the feasibility study, it's being undertaken at the town level, and there are 3 components to it. Only one of them has been approved and funded. The other 2, one being the municipal offices themselves, and the senior center is what's being suspended temporarily or until further notice. Is this correct?
That's correct.
So it's really not under our control. We can still have our wish list and keep our wish list active until such time as the town decides to to start over and start doing the feasibility study again. Is this correct?
That is correct. But that's exactly why, because until the town decides to bring it back, I would rather focus on the things that are actually happening now than worrying about something that may or may not happen in the future. Because I do feel as though we spent a lot of time already in the past months talking about, if, and instead I would rather focus on what is actually happening right now. So that's why in the strategic plan going forward, the feasibility study we're pulling until the town comes back and says, okay, you know what? This is what we're going to talk about it, because the great thing about it is we can change the strategic plan and make revisions as necessary. I just don't want to spend a lot of time talking about something that's not going to happen in the present future.
Which brings up another question, and that is, we may have short-term needs or needs that we were hoping would be picked up by the feasibility study that are not going to be met now. Are you compiling a list of things that need to be done now?
So one of those things would be the security system at the senior center, in which I did put a request in for a capital budget for $25,000 to have that done. I have not yet heard on how that's going forward, but that was part of the feasibility study, if you remember, that we were going to incorporate that into expanding and making the center safer. So that is one aspect of it. But the other things that happened was, if you remember correctly, we were worried about the patio. The patio has been redone. It's been cleaned up, so it is safe walking spot. As far as the doorsteps, those are still things that we need to work on as far as, walking down and things like that. But again, everything takes a little time, but I feel as though even with the pandemic, we're still moving forward, maybe a little bit behind schedule of what I would have liked, but that was out of my control.
Louise?
I just had a comment.
Go ahead, Louise.
When you said that we have to wait for the town to come to us, I think sometimes we have to go to them. If it comes to a point that they're finished with the police station and they're talking about the town hall, time for us to make some noise and to say, wait a minute, don't forget the senior center is in this as well. I think they've kind of pushed us off to the side and kind of thought that never, because by that time, we'll have at least 10,000 seniors. I don't know, we may have 10,000 already. I know we had 8,000 a year or two ago. So, if you have 10, 12,000 to maybe have a little more room than what we have now, because now we're very crowded up there to get everybody's activities in. If you have to limit it to 2 hours each for any kind of overall activity. So I think, I don't like the fact that, you don't say well, we'll just wait for them to come to us. I think sometimes we have to be proactive.
Louise, I think I have to correct you on that. I think we're talking about two different things. The feasibility study is for the entire campus.
Why
We're
not?
talking about our short-term needs, and we have to let them know what our short-term needs are. But feasibility study, which is the plan for the entire campus, is what's being put on hold, except for the police station. Holly, please go ahead.
Yep, so I just want to say, so we were on the feasibility study, obviously, and we were taken off because there were other buildings that were a priority. You know, we still are able to utilize our senior center. We still have a great spot. We've revised some of the office areas to make things, you know, work better inside. So as soon as we get the feasibility study out of it, we started working to try to figure out how to better utilize the space that we have, and that's what we've been doing. But the other thing is to keep in mind, so you mentioned that we'll soon have 10,000 seniors, and I absolutely agree. But one of the things that we have to remember is those 10,000 seniors, they're not all going to come to the senior center. So one of the things that we've been doing is working with outside organizations to be able to offer things outside of the senior center. So we're trying to work with, like, you know, athletic clubs and other, you know, the Lions Club and things like that to try to offer programs outside of the senior center, because that's still the work that I do. So even though I offer activities inside the center, I need to offer activities outside the center. So that's one of the things that we've been concentrating on too, because our seniors are anybody that's 60. So, and of course, you know, some people have a little stereotype on the senior center. They don't want to come there, but wouldn't it be cool if I could make a relationship with, say, one of the fitness clubs and say, hey, can you offer 20, 25% off to have our seniors go? That's part of the work that I do too. So I just want to keep all of those things in mind. And yes, in the way that, Louise, just like you were mentioning about being heard, the more that we do outside and reaching out to the community, the more people know that we exist, and the more likely that they're willing to come back and help us when it is our time. So, you know, I think that is super important for our focus going forward, is like, that is part of like what we've been talking about. How do we get people to know we're here? Well, half of doing that is making relationships outside of the senior center. So
Holly,
limiting
I
activities
think you've gone past your estimated time.
Yeah,
And if you want to put this as an agenda item for the next meeting,
sure.
to deliberately, you know, spend some quality time talking about the needs of the senior center versus the strategic plan and how that fits in. I think this is a much bigger discussion than we can
So,
accomplish in
right.
the next 5 minutes. So
So-
unless there's more stuff to talk about, perhaps you want to wrap things up. Anybody has any other comments that we want to get in? And I think we should let Holly go take care of her problems at home. Louise.
I just want to say goodbye to Soya and Barbara and thank them for all they have done for the senior center and for the Council on Aging. They're both going to be missed so much. And we'll be looking to see them up at the senior center and say hi. But we're going to miss them at our meetings. Thank you so much for all you've done for us.
Thank
That's
you.
it.
And as the new kid on the block, I want to say how much I've learned from both of you and how much I will miss both of you and the expertise that you've brought to this board and to your positions. And hopefully we'll see you in person on the 25th and we can thank you in person.
Yes.
Thank you.
Zoya, you have anything to say, or?
Thank you all for giving me the opportunity to be a board member and gain a lot of knowledge from all of you. Thank you.
Betsy, Barbara?
I just want to say I'm not going anywhere. I'm going to be helping out at the senior center, but in a different way. You know, trying to help bring back the fun to the senior center after this long period of, you know, not being able to do anything.
Yeah.
All right. Would someone make a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Louise,
Second.
who's seconding it?
I second it.
Oh, who made the motion?
Betsy.
I did.
Betsy.
All right. So Betsy made the motion and seconded. Anybody has any last minute comments?
Congratulations, Christine.
Louise,
No, yes. To adjourn, yes.
Barbara,
Yes.
Betsy,
Yes.
Zoya,
Yes.
Virginia,
Yes.
meeting adjourned. And thank you, Holly, and thank you for staying the extra 15 minutes.
You're welcome. Thank you, Barbara, and thank you, Zoya. It's been my pleasure. It really has.
And
Stay
good luck,
safe,
Christine.
everybody.
Well, thank you all.
Okay.